Last night was the first night of the Democratic National Convention, and aside from speeches by Michelle Obama and Bernie Sanders, who was the only one to mention policy, the entire convention was an absolute substanceless cringe fest, with Republican John Kasich quite literally opening his speech at a crossroads, and moments both embarrassing and troubling about the party's obsession with appeasing right-wingers. From Kasich promising voters that Biden wouldn't be a part of the left.
I'm sure there are Republicans and independents who couldn't imagine crossing over to support a Democrat. They fear Joe may turn sharp left and leave them behind. I don't believe that, because I know the measure of the man.
To Amy Klobuchar's horrible, horrible jokes.
You know, the president may hate the post office, but he's still going to have to send them a change of address card come January.
To whatever this was.
There's something happening here.
Important content, as 30+ million people are unemployed and 170,000 Americans have died from coronavirus and 5.44 million coronavirus cases continue to ravage the country. Yeah, we need that instead of solutions about people finding their next meal, because that was part of the issue. The whole first night of the convention was about unity and Black Lives Matter. They literally highlighted the Black Lives Matter mural by the DC mayor who endorsed Mike Bloomberg and didn't want to do anything about police funding. But we have the symbolism. How beautiful is that? We won't do anything on policy. And so it was all centered around the events of the last 6 months, which obviously has been catastrophic, but there was no solution to tie all of it together. There need to be solutions at the end of the emotional pleas, or it's nothing. It's like a bad American Idol episode. That's what I said last night. That's what it felt like. And so it really doesn't penetrate. They're really specifically trying to target suburban moms, which was, I think, the whole point of Michelle Obama's speech. But you need to have substance behind the emotion, or it doesn't penetrate. It goes in one ear and out the other. And that's what I felt like the convention was last night, with the exception of the final two speeches, Bernie Sanders and Michelle Obama. In the run-up to the convention, progressive Democrats, including former top officials on Sanders' campaign, were critical of the screen time that the party had offered to Kasich and other Republicans. No lead in the polls is too big, but how big a tent can you make before it falls on itself? On Monday, the party's response to this question was to go light on the policy talk. In the 2-hour program, Sanders was the only speaker to use the time to focus on healthcare, unemployment benefits, and the minimum wage, in favor of appeals to unity and empathy. George Floyd's brother led a moment of silence. An in memoriam montage of victims of the coronavirus was accompanied by I Remember Everything, the last song recorded by the musician John Prine, who died of COVID-19 related complications in April. A video feature about Biden's Senate-era routine of riding the Amtrak back and forth every day between Wilmington, Delaware and Washington, D.C., included an interview with a retired train engineer whom Biden befriended on those journeys. I honestly would have been okay with these emotional stories if there was some policy behind it, because look, the Biden Amtrak story, it's a great contrast if you watched it with Trump's complete lack of empathy and disdain for the working man and woman. And Biden was very empathic towards these people on Amtrak. And again, if you get Biden one-on-one in a room, he is empathetic and he is sympathetic, and he's someone who engages very well with people when he's talking to them one-on-one, even though he did have some angry outbursts in the primary, but I think that has to do with maybe a little bit of his age. So it's a good contrast there. But what ties it together? What vision ties it together, as opposed to just general unity, empathy, no division? Empathy for what? What's the end result? People are watching that and they're like, I'm going to get evicted in 2 days. Can I have some relief? What is the Democratic Party's vision for that? What are they going to do about my kid who has to go back to school because we live in Mississippi and they're mandating that we do that? What are the end goals here? How different would this be if Bernie were the nominee? So many people have lost their health care, millions in this pandemic. Bernie would have been Medicare for all. Boom. Right off the start. And that would have worked. And now I see these polls going up and down. I would have thought this was unfathomable some time ago because of the conditions on the ground. But the lack of clarity coming out of the Democratic Party could kill them. And they did this in 2016, but it's worse now. It's worse. Hillary Clinton tried to put policy forward. Why didn't they? Biden, it occurred to me just now, Biden did put a good climate policy forward, and he has his Build Back Better plan. Why were none of those elements, which a lot of them are good, highlighted on the first night? Oh, there's 3 more nights. It's the opening night. Most people are going to tune into that, honestly. So why not? They don't want to be tied to anything, and that's the reality. That's the sad reality, and they want to signal to donors and wealthy people that this is just some vague corporate messaging about unity, and hey, we'll have some musical performances too. Doesn't everyone like that? We'll have immense wiggle room to squirm out of whatever promises we make. Let's just get Trump out. Let's just get Trump out. Ooh, it's so hollow, and it was bad and cringy on top of it.